Hi, my name's Chad. That's my wife Remy, and this is our 5,000 square foot garden. Building this garden is all part of our master scheme to become more self-sufficient in our life. Now officially 4 full seasons that we've been gardening and developing this garden, but it didn't always look like this. Our gardening adventure here at the farm was a literal disaster on our first year, and I think we've seriously come a long way since then. I think we've both come a long way in understanding how our garden works. I've come to the conclusion that even within your own garden, there are little tiny microclimates everywhere. One area over there that you plant something may not work for something else. We've experimented with certain veggies in different areas, and we absolutely get different results. But we're still in the mode of trying to discover what actually works for us here in our garden. It's been raining the past few days, and the duck run is a little mucky. Our ducks have turned into mud ducks. Right, ducks? We free range our ducks and geese out in the orchard, which is adjacent to the garden. And I built a duck pond last year right beside the fence of the garden, with the thought that maybe in the future, if for some reason I need to drain the duck pond, it would be very fertile water with all the debris and poop and manure that's in the water from the ducks playing around, splashing around, and cleaning themselves. But we have yet to do that. It just hasn't been needed. It'll be interesting to see what the effect will be long term. My darling's just preparing this bed here, and we have tomatoes. This is what we're doing this year. This is a red beefsteak tomato, and this one here is a better boy. We're not really gonna do too many tomatoes this year. I think she's gonna try to just do this one bed right here on both sides of the trellis, because believe it or not, the past 2 years we've had a pretty big harvest, and we still have a lot of pasta sauce. We have a lot of canned tomatoes. I think she has a couple of little jars of tomato paste that she made. So we don't really need a lot of tomatoes. We're gonna focus on some other things. As many of you who follow the channel, at the end of the winter, we had this serious ice storm, and it damaged a lot of the farm, and we're still kind of in recovery mode. But one of the things that it impacted is my wife's system of starting some of the seeds inside the house to give them a little bit of a head start. We're zone 5B here in Horseshoe Valley area of Ontario, Canada, and our growing season starts maybe the 3rd week of May. We're already into the last week of May right now, and it's quite nippy and cold today. We just didn't have enough time to plant stuff indoors, and we were kind of exhausted from doing all of the big huge cleanup, and it's not done yet, but at least we got the cleanup done enough that we can continue with some of the things we have planned for the year and pick at some of the mess as we go along. So what she did is she just went to the nursery or Walmart or wherever, and she's got a lot of the stuff that we want to plant this year. You can see these are some peppers. These here are some lovely cherry tomatoes. So we're going to plant those over here in the bed that she's preparing. Yeah, actually there's 6 inside this one pouch here, so that's decent. I think I got this one from Home Depot. You can see how nice the bed is once she's taken out all the weeds, and she's just planting these cherry tomatoes. There's 6 of them, so it might take up this entire row right here. These 2 are grape tomatoes, which is a very small tomato also, but they're great in salads or even with your eggs or by themselves. But that's how the bed looks like before she does the weeding. But because the soil is so loose, it's really easy to get rid of the weeds. The good thing, I guess, about doing your gardening when it's actually a little bit raining out is that you don't have to water in your starts, because it's going to get naturally rained on, and rainwater is the best in our experience. One can almost say that we've resurrected this garden. If you could imagine what it looked like in our first year, it was an utter, complete disaster. And we basically abandoned the garden for that year because we just couldn't keep up with all of the weeds and the grasses that were growing in between the beds. We did absolutely try to make our own beds in the ground, but in our area, it just wasn't working in conjunction with our busy lifestyle. That's really one of the things I've been learning a lot about myself. My wife has been learning a lot about herself in how to manage the homestead, how to enjoy your time in the garden when you have such a busy life. Because the reality is, if you're working for a living and you do gardening like as a hobby or on the side or on the weekends, like today, for example, it's raining, the sun's out now, but it's raining. We have no choice but to get these planted in the ground. We can't just say, forget about it, because this is the only day off we have to do it today. So, it's important to learn that about your own particular situation, how you're gonna manage and maintain your garden moving forward. And that first year garden did not look like this. It was the best decision, I think, that we ever made to abandon that system of planting it in the ground and go with this landscape tarp system. This is like a polypropylene geotextile, and we're now in the third year of laying out this geotextile. Really, what we should have done from the beginning is just lay it everywhere. But there's also the money factor. It costs a lot of money to buy all this fabric and, lay it all out and do all the work. So that's just not something that we wanted to take on immediately in that first year. So we made the decision to add on to it every year as we go here. And yes, we did a lot last year, but again, this year, we're going to continue on this other section where I'm working right now. This is an area where we could fit 8 more planting beds. But before we do that, I want to kind of prevent this wild artemisia from growing. And there's a few wild raspberries in here, and there's just grasses and fescues, and it just makes your gardening time absolutely unenjoyable if you have to continuously weed every day, all day. Well, there's nothing like gardening in the rain. Lots of fun. So after trying to plan out all this landscape tarp, geotextile landscape fabric, it goes by many names, we needed to figure out what type of bed we were going to use, and we came to the conclusion to try a 30-inch tall galvanized steel bed, and they're very good for ergonomically correct gardening. But I also went with a wood bed. They're relatively inexpensive. I say relatively, but they're quite simple to put together. And my wife really likes the height of these because, she's like 5'2", and it gives her a good working height because these are 30 inches tall. For me, myself, I'm 6 foot. Still not bad to work. If I have to do anything, it's not so bad. I'd probably like it up here if it was really built for my height. That way I don't have to bend over. But beggars can't be choosers, I think this is kind of the best of both worlds. And this is my darling's garden. I built it for her, really. This is her absolute favorite hobby on the farm. Now keep in mind that we're traditionally city people. We got this farm almost 5 years ago now, and we've been developing this garden and developing our skills and learning all about gardening and soil composition and how to amend and how to fertilize and how to prune and all these different skills that you need to develop. And I'm excited to be able to do it. I really love learning, actually. It might sound odd to say, but as we get older, you never stop learning. It's not something that just ends and you don't learn anymore. There's nothing wrong with learning, I think, and there's nothing wrong with trying new things and new experiences. I actually wish I could do more of these galvanized steel beds. It just financially might not be in the cards to purchase more this year. They're about $350 each, so it does get kind of pricey when you're buying 6 or 7 or 8. But they do last for many, many years. They'll last for a lot longer than the wood beds. This is the first time in our gardening career that we're gonna try growing Brussels sprouts. So those 3 plants right there are Brussels sprouts, and wish us luck that we are successful. So my darling's been trying to root this kind of Asian looking squash. It's called a chayote. Sometimes it's pronounced chayote or chayote, but you can see there's a little bit of a root growth there. What she did is just have it inside the Ziploc bag and keep it in some water, trying to get some roots to grow. You cannot find these seeds in Canada anyway, so this is the only way she knows how to get this growing. And she's got a special technique on how to just lightly cover it with soil. And it's like a squash type thing, so it does vine, so it needs like a trellis to climb up here, and we're crossing our fingers for good luck with this chayote this year. So what's the deal with you planting it though? You're planting the veggie part down and then that kind of rooted part up, so those roots are not roots, they're going to turn into the vine, you mean to say?
Yeah, when this come out, it becomes a vine, and then some leaves coming out also, and then this is that becomes gonna give us some fruits.
She hasn't been successful. This is going to be the second year trying this. Last year it grew, but it didn't get to the point where it actually gave any vegetables. So we're trying it really early. This is the 3rd week of May, and we're going to try to get it in the ground right now and watch the growth as we go throughout the season.
Okay, I have to plant different kinds of 2 different kinds of long beans, 1 green beans, and then 1 purple.
So this is what's known in Tagalog as sitaw, and it's like a long beans, you know. She's got 2 packs of these yard-long beans, and then she's going to try a pack of the red kind right here. And these are all GMO-free seeds, of course. That's very important. And it's great for organic growing, which is what we're going for. We don't want any GMOs in our stuff. And hopefully she'll be as successful at least as last year, because last year was a great year for sitaw beans. Geese are coming over to supervise me. You guys okay? You checking out what I'm doing, huh? What kind of bird is that? Look, it's got like an orange underbelly, orange back. Is that an oriole? That's as close as I can zoom in though. I guess it kind of looks like an oriole, but I don't know. Any of you guys know in the viewership? Looks like that oriole's eating lots of bugs off our apple tree. That's really great. I hope it nests here. It'd be nice to see an oriole all the time. Very beautiful. I think it's an oriole. If any of you viewers can correct me if it's an oriole or not. I don't know what type of oriole, but it's definitely, to me, it looks like an oriole. So now that we know all on that side is going to be the long beans, sitaw, this entire side is going to be ampalaya, which is like a bitter melon or a bitter gourd. And last year my darling was super successful growing that stuff. And she wants to really replicate her success from last year. Inside this trellis area here, she's got upo and patola. Those are both Asian veggies. Upo is kind of like a big squash, and patola is kind of like a small squash, like a cucumber type. But she's put the little labels here in the soil just so she can try to keep track. Once they're growing already, then she knows which ones they are, but just while they're still young, you know, she wants to remember. So my darling's finished over here. This bed right here is all green beans. And then this bed right here is okra. So that's going to be really nice to get a bunch of okra again and green beans. Yum. Then my darling's going to continue with some more okra in this bed here. She still has a bunch of okra seeds left. So she's just going to finish off that little bit of seeds in this bed here. Miss Olivia's feeling a little hot. She's trying to find some shade under Mama's umbrella. So if we look at some of the stuff we're growing this year, we got a bunch of tomatoes, we got a bunch of different peppers, we have 2 different kinds of cabbage, we have some Brussels sprouts that we're trying this year, we have a few different kinds of cabbage, we have 3 beds of broccoli because my wife is hoping that she'll be able to freeze some this year again. She's got all her Asian veggies right there. She's got more Asian veggies right there. She's got herbs. She's got eggplants right here. We have a bunch of strawberries. She's got the ampalaya right here. We have some okra right here. We have some green beans right here. That's a lot, right? She's planting a cauliflower right now. And we're going to have some cucumber there too on that trellis. She's got a bunch of eggplants with some kale as well. So that's going to be pretty cool. I think we still have a little bit of room in some of these beds to plant some seeds. So we're going to figure out by priority what we want to plant. I think we need to do some carrots and maybe a few other things, but we'll get into that in another episode. Working towards perfecting your garden is actually hard work, and there's no easy answer. I want to talk about how hard it is to get your garden looking the way you want it to look. And it's definitely not something you can do in a few months or a year. We're now in our 4th year of doing this garden, and we've built it up pretty good. I think we have a lot of space, we have a lot of good soil. We're continuing to amend the soil. We got garlic growing in these beds, we have a bunch of strawberries, and I think we're well on our way to fully resurrecting this garden. And for all you gardeners out there, drop me a comment in some of the things that you're growing this season. I do appreciate you listening to the story and following along. It means a lot. And then if anyone wants to look back at last year, we produced a video really talking about all of the success that we had in our garden. And I'll put it up on the screen and you can give it a watch if you haven't seen it already, or maybe if you just want to watch it again. That's very much appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode, okay? You guys take care.